It's also true. We can do little column A, little column B. Wano starts off real slow. They get there. Luffy's separated from the gang because, of course, Luffy's separated from the gang. And, like, he runs into these two big creatures fighting. But, whoa, one of the creatures has a little girl that's, like, giving him orders. But, whoa, there's, like, bandits. But, like, whoa, they work for Kaido. But, like, whoa, I can't care about these characters I literally just met.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the point, right? You just met them.
And then
it's
Luffy...
introduction.
Fair enough. And then Luffy, like, runs into, like, this Tengu nose fella. It's, like, Master Ninja who's training this little girl with, like, dumpling cheeks. Like devil fruit. Where she feeds her dumpling cheeks to animals. They listen to her.
Yeah, her devil fruit is crazy. It's kind of insane. But I don't even remember the name of the guy with the Tengu mask.
All right. I mean, the moment that Luffy went, okay, cool, thanks, bye, I'm like, all right, this is a gentleman I'm not meeting again.
Well, you do meet him again, but he's actually kind of important because he's like the guy that forged one of Zoro's swords, I'm pretty sure. Let me double check that. Because I know he's
and Luffy
sword
has a cursed blade, or like one of the like epic tier, whatever they call it, like one of the 13 blade, like
yeah,
the super duper awesome, and like Luffy's just holding it for decoration, more or less.
Oh yeah, so he crafted the Sandai, like the Kitetsu sword line, which Zoro has the Sandai Kitetsu, and there's the Nidai Kitetsu shows up at the beginning. It's the sword that he has that like Luffy just kind of like takes. Did Luffy do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And those are the Sandai Kitetsu is like the cursed sword that Zoro bought like all the way back in like Logtown. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
so
you'll die.
So he's a pretty, I mean, he's relevant because, you know, I mean, we're gonna go all in on like fucking Zoro and how just like underutilized in Wano Zoro was.
Well,
honestly,
of Zoro in Wano, like Zoro's gotten bloodthirsty since the time skip.
I guess.
Like, he's doing a lot of licking his blades before and after cutting people, and he has, like, honestly, what it is it feels like Oda's given him Bellamy's face, like I'm a sadistic killer face.
Yeah,
and he does it like a lot in like so far,
like at the very beginning. Yeah,
like he's like,
I think a lot of that is for like imagery, you know, because like this is a transition of the style of One Piece going forward because they're in Wano for so goddamn long, and he's taking a lot of inspiration from like other Japanese media, you know. Like I feel like Zoro's introduction in this arc is very much like a Ronin samurai story, and I think he utilizes, or I feel like it's meant to just like show that like that kind of tone more than anything, because obviously we know Zoro's not just like a bloodthirsty killer,
but like most of what he said in Wano so far is, all right, let's actually kill these people.
Yeah,
like
that's fair.
He turned a switch.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying. But yeah, I don't know. Like, nobody's done anything.
I mean, yeah,
right?
You're like still like very early.
I'm 10 chapters in and nothing's happened. We met a little girl. We met a horsewoman waifu bait who like kind of objectively shouldn't work that way. So you know how like centaurs is like the top of the human hip is like the top of the horse shoulder?
Yeah.
This woman is a full human, but then like out of her ass is sprouting a horse's body, so that Oda could still draw a sexy woman.
Well, but she still has hooves in the front.
She
right?
does,
like,
but
she
like she has
human
people
ass
legs.
feet. Yeah. No, I agree. She's a very interesting design choice. There's a lot of interesting design choices going forward because you're have they named them like what they like what Kaido's like
The headliners?
well, yeah, but also there's like the grifters or
Oh,
gifters
yeah,
or some
yeah.
shit. I
The,
think
like,
those are all the
grafter
people that
yeah.
have like the weird
The like weird animal thingies.
yeah, that aren't zone fruits. Yeah. I mean, this whole arc is kind of the beginning of a very I mean, it's kind of an extension of a lot of the problems that like post time skip One Piece has, and so I'm very excited for you to just get further into it because I feel like it's kind of the culmination of a lot of the biggest problems that Oda started to have throughout the time skip.
That's fair.
So introducing a lot of characters. Oh, but you did get to Otama, I'm assuming, told Luffy about Ace and all that. You get a little bit of like a new backstory for Ace, which is interesting.
I'm sick of finding out things about Ace after he's dead.
Yeah, right? Like it's
Like-
all retroactive.
Like, come the fuck on. I will say, I do like how they set up the parallels between Ace and Luffy.
Yeah.
Like, not only like in spirit, but like the like visual, like, I don't know. It's a cool moment, but it is one of those things where it's like, all right. You would think Ace would have brought this up. Also,
I mean, Luffy
Ace
didn't
kind of
get that.
isn't, but like, Ace kind of isn't the guy to go, wow, this nation is objectively suffering at the hands of this person. Okay, when I get back here, I'm going to fix things. Ace isn't that guy. He's the I'm going to fix things now guy.
There is a little bit of plot convenience going on because it definitely kind of feels like something that Oda probably thought of later down the line. You know, he was just like, oh, I could incorporate Ace here by like having this be a place that Ace ended up, you know. But that is a inconsistency throughout like all of One Piece because like because Ace was never with like the present version of like what a strong person in the One Piece universe is. Ace never got to shine. Like, we never saw Ace do anything, like, really even remotely impressive from, like, a power scale. Like, I guess his clash with Blackbeard, kind of.
But he got his ass beat.
But he got his ass beat, and also hockey wasn't really a thing at that point. The inclusion of hockey definitely... I mean, people have debated about whether or not, like, hockey's introduction is, like, good or not, because it really comes in so slowly. Like, you kind of get hints of it as early as Skypiea, but like it doesn't become part of the power system until post time skip, like hard. Like so it's just we never get to see Ace do anything that impressive, and then the fact that he's just like in the New World just chilling on Wano, and like I mean, I guess the idea is that like if you're a pirate, if you're like part of Whitebeard's crew, you can kind of do whatever the fuck you want, and people aren't going to mess with you because there's kind of that air of superiority around you. So, like, obviously Ace...
Like, Ace was a division commander.
Yeah, and Ace wasn't doing what Luffy was doing. Ace wasn't going around, like, specifically trying to, like...
start shit.
Yeah. So, you know, some of that stuff makes sense, but you'll see more stuff, more, like, brief flashbacks with Ace in Wano. But it's interesting coming off the heels of like just having rewatched Gurren Lagann, because I feel like Oda's doing a similar thing with Ace that is done with Kamina, where like it's like after he dies,
He's certainly trying.
Oh, exactly. Like it's definitely not delivered as well because of how like fucking long One Piece is. Because it's like Ace dying is comparatively at the same point in the story, I feel like, where Kamina dies in Gurren Lagann.
It's the pivot before the time skip.
But like in Gurren Lagann, it happens in like 8 fucking episodes, which is like, just like insane, honestly.
But also, like, the difference is when Kamina bites it, we've seen him a lot.
I know
he's
exactly.
in literally every episode.
He's
up
an
to
actual
that point.
character at that point.
Yeah. But when Ace bites it, it's just one of those like, hey, you thought he was cool, right? Oh, you didn't? Okay, well, I swear this moment matters.
Yeah. I don't want to discredit that sequence because I still think Ace's death is done pretty well.
It's very good. But I was thinking, because like for me, I would have cared about Ace's death even before actually reading up to that point because of how cool I felt Ace was as a kid.
Yeah.
Someone like you who never really got into Ace, I can't imagine that scene, like, that you felt like, oh no, I don't want Ace to die, right? Like,
yeah, it was definitely a shock, you know. I think like Whitebeard's death probably hit me more because I feel like Whitebeard's death. Okay, Ace's death feels impactful to me because of Luffy's reaction, and I care about Luffy, and I know how much Luffy cares about Ace. So like that part, you know, did get to me. It definitely was I felt more when the Going Merry fucking burned than I did when Ace died.
Yikes.
But that doesn't mean that Ace's death was not sad. So yeah. But Ace's introduction to being a part of the backstory in Wano.
Ace is objectively a worse human being than he was before I knew this.
Because he like pieced out.
Yeah, because he left. Well, who knows however many people are suffering.
Yeah, exactly. And like that's like I'm not gonna call Ace a coward, but like it's another example of like how Ace couldn't really do anything. Like he probably could have tried, but like especially with how we know fucking Kaido is, like I don't think Ace could have beaten Kaido.
Right, but you'd imagine he'd come back and go like, "Hey, Dad, let's beat up this guy."
I know, exactly.
This guy sucks.
Yeah, there's a lot
of
interesting stuff going there.
Like,
yeah.
I know.
Because dude, there's a whole flashback in Wano that I'm really excited for you to see.
There's a moment. So when we first like get to Wano, we like go to like, here's what Usopp's doing, here's what Frankie's doing, and then here's what this woman is doing. And Oda is so bad at drawing women to look distinct without adding weird features to them that I did not know who she was supposed to be. And they didn't give her a title card because it was supposed to be obvious.
Oh, is it Nico Robin?
Yeah, like 11 chapters later, they're like, yes, and this is what Usopp is doing. This is what Frankie is doing, and Robin became a geisha. And it's like, oh, so that's who that was.
Oh yeah,
because Oda's women are the same character with different hair, and so when they change their hair for a disguise, they are the same character. Like there was one of these chapters started off with like Splash for like some like International Women's Day sort of event. I don't actually remember which one it was. And so Oda had his notable women lined up like off, like in the background there was like the scale tail of the Mermaid Princess. In the right corner there was Big Mom. Those are the only two people who were distinguishable. Centerfold was Nami, and I only knew it was Nami because it was a colored panel. And she's the only ginger. But on either side of her is Robin and Boa Hancock. But no one's wearing their like canonical outfit. So I legitimately couldn't tell who was who for a while.
That's fair.
I forget who was on the left of Robin because
I think isn't
name
Perona
5 characters
in that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But then Vivi was on the other side of Boa.
Yeah.
But like all of them racked up with the exception of the people who had colored hair. Same people. And like having them next to each other like really exemplifies how bad it is. Like it's bad. And like there's a woman samurai character who refers to themselves in like second person detached sort of narration. Like this
Kiku,
one.
I think.
I don't remember. I don't care.
The really
her.
tall one.
Yes.
I have a figure of.
Oh yeah, you do. Hidden on your waifu shelf, which is interesting. Yeah, before she was like next to like Zoro, it was like, yeah, no, this is just Robin. Why does Robin have a sword now? And then she was big lady.
Yeah, but she's like 9 feet tall or some shit. Because like all the people in Wano, I guess, are like insanely tall.
Unless they're malnourished peasants. Because the factories have polluted everything.
But I do like Okiku. Okiku, unfortunately, doesn't get to be much of a character.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't imagine that this one gets to do much of anything. So we find out here that Kainmon et al. are actually from the past.
Oh, yeah, dude, I forgot
What
about
the fuck?
I was like, we're going to have to talk about that. I didn't even
What
remember
the
that
fuck,
you would have
Richard? Like, Oda, are you okay? Like, what is this? Why is this? It's so dumb.
Why is it
also,
dumb?
like, because why?
There's
That's
reasons,
why.
bro. Like,
Really
they detailed
not.
the reasons.
Yeah, we escaped through time rather than just not having been there when it burnt down.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of factors. Did you get, like, the full backstory of, like, what happened in the past?
The wife of the king, or of the shogunate,
Kazuki's wife. Yeah.
had time traveled to that point.
Yes, from the Void Century.
She didn't say the Void Century. She
Okay.
said that she was in this era.
Yeah.
So she said this era, which I took to mean they didn't want to give a time, but it was specifically after the Void Century.
Yeah, I guess I don't recall if she ever directly states the Void Century. I mean, you're going to see...
She doesn't in that flashback.
Yeah.
But anyway, rather than going with them and surviving as well, she goes, all right, take my kid. Terrible mother, by the way. Not the worst mother. Worst mother would have been, let me keep my kid while I choose to burn in this castle. She's like, take my kid, go to the future. Goodbye.
I mean, I genuinely think there was nothing they could do because the idea is that Kaido was so fucking strong that, like, literally they couldn't beat him and they couldn't escape alive.
Okay, but she could have had any other fruit to get them out of there.
Yeah.
Or again, they could have just not been home.
I mean, I think the relevance of that fruit is that it is broken. Like, you are like, oh shit, time travel is a possibility within this universe. But I mean, the whole, disadvantage, I guess, or downside to that fruit is that you can only travel forward in time. And, like, she could have traveled forward in time, but I think the idea is that there is more context that you just haven't gotten yet.
I still think it's dumb.
I mean,
because the thing about
it's
adding
often
time
that
travel,
you think most plot things in One Piece are dumb.
I mean, I'd be offended if you weren't wrong, and I'd be wrong if I wasn't right. But like, it's such a weird nothing thing that it could have been literally anything else and felt more sensible and felt more impactful. Like, it's silly, parentheses derogatory.
Yeah. No, I mean, I won't disagree with that. Like, it is silly. It definitely is an interesting choice. But, we can't really go, like, super in depth on that yet, in my opinion, because Odin is going to get, like, a whole fucking flashback.
Oh, yeah, that's right. This is another island that we're showing up to.
Post everything happening.
Post everything, we are going to be told / shown, because I'm sure we're going to watch the flashback, but we're going to be told rather than shown.
Yeah.
Don't put your people in a position after the most interesting thing happens. Put them there while the most interesting thing is happening.
I mean, the most interesting thing is still going to happen currently.
I cannot even begin to imagine that the Kaido fight is more interesting than Odin's life. Specifically because of how long you've told me it is.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. It has its highs, and its lows. Odin's, I mean, granted, I do genuinely think Odin's flashback is one of the best things in the series. Like, it is just really good because it is a lot of shit that we've always wanted to know. And we'll see how you feel about it, but for me, it is really good. Yeah.
And then they just start stealing shit. There's a murderous sumo wrestler.
Yeah. And then Luffy fights in quotations.
Big slap. The biggerest slap.
Yeah.
Big old 5-star.
Well, yeah, see, and like this is a good example of like how the fight with Kaido could have been shorter. Because this is kind of Luffy's first clash with Kaido and Luffy's first loss to Kaido. And somehow, for some reason, the fight ended up being
coming up with funky ass shit like every single day.
Like super ass long.
Super ass long, bro. That ass long. Droopy. So where I left off was literally Luffy just punched Dragon Kaido.
Oh, okay.
who has
So you haven't quite seen like the resolution of that.
no.
encounter.
He literally
Yeah.
just punched Dragon Kaido, but also like
But you know he's not gonna win.
right, especially because Kaido just obliterated a countryside
Yeah.
passively. Kaido is a drunk, which I guess makes sense. Once you've conquered the world and you're that type of guy, what else are you gonna do? I don't know. A lot of Kaido's, or not Kaido, a lot of Wano so far just feels like conflict for the sake of conflict, rather than like. On the one hand, I get it. It feels like Oda's trying to be like, oh, Wano's a really grueling, sort of shitty place, but also right as opposed to doing what we normally do, which is be tourists for a couple chapters.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say I like is literally outside of the 3 Straw Hat members that I mentioned earlier, Usopp, Robin, and Frankie, none of the other ones could keep their cover. Zoro blew it. Luffy blew it on landing. It is another chapter in Trafalgar Law's long-standing suffering of the Straw Hat bullshit.
Yeah. Law is a good part of this arc, fortunately. I do like him.
Also, Basil Hawking works for Kaido, which on the one hand, I don't like because I thought his powers were cool and I would have liked him to be on sides. But on the other hand, I like because I thought his powers were cool and this means we're going to fight him. But I do genuinely like the idea that, like, yeah, no, not everybody in the worst generation feel like they have to be their own boss, right? Like,
Yeah, he's kind of like, well, not as good, but kind of a gang beige stand-in for this arc.
yeah.
I mean, he's just the worst generation kind of just have to be part of the story. And honestly, I think the worst generation in this arc are kind of utilized the worst, you know?
Yeah, so far he's just there to be like
because they're kind of
boss.
they're just kind of there amongst a bunch of other characters, whereas like Gang Beige I felt like was at least partially a focus of Whole Cake Island. Like he was a part.
We met his
of it.
kid.
He's not just he wasn't kind of just there for the sake of being there.
Yeah.
So oh, and I didn't even touch on Robin's look. Like, I honestly really don't like her geisha look. She just, like, doesn't even fucking look like the same character.
No,
And,
again,
like, that's the problem, in my opinion, is just, like, she doesn't really retain any of her defining features.
well, she lost her defining features in the time skip.
Exactly, yeah.
Her defining feature was, and I quote, big nose.
Well, yeah, but that's a good defining feature.
Yeah, it could be if it's kept consistent.
Exactly.
But now, like, Oda just, like, no,
now she just kind of has two
one
lines.
woman's face.
She kind of just has 2 lines occasionally, and her face is much more round
Yeah.
for some reason.
All of their faces are much more round. And, like, I hate it. I hate it a lot. Like, the only reason why, like, the horse girl that I talked about earlier looks different is she's got big old horsey ears. Much like how the only reason Carrot stands out is she's fluffy. I don't know. I'm ready for this arc to suffer from the fatal flaw of having the Straw Hats together. Too many of them. Plus,
see.
also Trafalgar is there. Plus, also whatever fucking samurai we're gonna bring up. Plus, also I have to care about Kainmon, and
I
you cannot
have-
make me
yeah.
care about Kainmon.
I do have, I would say, adverse opinions on the samurai. Is that the right word?
The fool, yeah, adverse.
I don't know. Just like, yeah.
The foolish samurai. I threw open a portal.
Well,
Threw him through time
I mean,
to
I
a
guess-
future where my rule was law, and everything is a coup.
okay. I was like, are you making a
Gotta get back
Jack Samurai?
to the past samurai. Jack.
His name is Jack Samurai, right?
I mean, I believe so.
His last name Samurai.
Speaking of Jacks, you know how Jack was so big and bad he could like pretty much single-handedly destroy the entire like mink nation?
Oh yeah.
Well, some random samurai we just met holds his own and wounds him pretty severely. Throw away. All of a sudden, nobody who's strong is special anymore because we're all strong. Whee! Oh no, we didn't do any meaningful like changes in between the last time we saw Jack and now, so now the last time we saw Jack feels super nothing. Wow. Wow, Dad.